right, this is funky. I think I was against Ola. Did I really lose this one? Did I come back with 4 big blinds?
Ben is back. This is just gonna keep going. Benjamin Raleigh, what a comeback, what a day, what a stream, what a moment.
Alright guys, it's time. We're going through the $10,000 final table. And I started as a chip leader, 2.6 million. And first hand pocket fives from under the gun. It's going to be a very interesting final table where it's extremely aggressive. We have a lot of players that I would profile: Duco, Vlad, Pedro. Also this guy as rather aggressive. Casimir quite aggressive. I think he's the most solid. I wouldn't even say like he's a nit or tied, but he's more on the solid side. And I think all of them are too aggressive in certain nodes, pros for pre-flop. And you either fight fire with fire or you lead back, and we're going to be seeing it, looking into in some of my decisions and how I approach this final table. Yeah, so first hand pocket fives. We want to be flatting really wide on the button. I would even flat 9-7 suited. We force him to be checking a lot of boards. He decides and goes for a bet here, which I don't really like. I think on this board you have very, very little fold equity. And even hands like Queen Jack of Hearts, Jack 10 of Hearts, it's really just the club combos that fold. I can't even imagine that with the backdoor straight draws, we might actually be calling this hand. I considered his bet to be rather strong because, again, we have 4s, we have 7s. We should even be flatting King 7 suited. And under ICM, when he lacks all these nutted hands, it's not good to be betting here. I mean, he's going to have 7s as well, but he's not going to have 4s. Yes, he has kings. We don't have kings, but we're going to have ace king as well. Again, we have king 7 suited. We might even have king 4 suited here. So whenever you're the chiller, you're supposed to be flatting really wide. And yeah, surprised to see that c-bet, it worked this time, but most of the time it's not going to be working. So I'm not a big fan of it. Queen jack suited here. I'm going to be mostly focusing on my hand, but this was a very interesting hand here where small blind decided to flat. Good fold. I would only call 9-7 suited here. Goes hand for the c-bet, I think pretty standard. Turn, we could potentially continue barreling, especially with the hearts, because we block Jack 10 hearts, Queen 10 hearts, which is a decent amount of combos. The question is, would he c-bet it though? I doubt it. So I think check back is very good. And then it gets to the river where Schusterich decides to bet a quarter. And I think if you bet a quarter and you get raised here, and this is exactly what happens, I don't think we should ever fold here because we're going to be splitting very, very often. What is he representing? He could also be having some combos of pocket jacks here, to be honest, that just block bet, or something like maybe like pocket nines that calls against the small bet, that just protection bets and block bets against the ace queens and ace jacks. Anyway, I think the majority of the time we're going to be splitting against the king. I think ace king will raise as well. Some king queens will raise as well. So yeah, we lose against ace king, but I think some king queens and we might be splitting, right? He really puts him on ace king or aces, but that's only 2 hands. Again, I don't think a 10 c-bets the board. And then if he just has a few bluffs, you kind of induce this raise with this very small. I mean, we're going to have queen jack suited. We're going to have ace jack suited. So we're going to have some bluffs here. And that's why I would usually go half pot or something. And if you bet so small, I think you just invite a lot of bluff raises, and I would just not fold this. Obviously, I'm trying not to be results oriented. However, I have to give him credit to make such a fold. I think having this attitude and sometimes over folding and doing it too much is better than hero calling too much. So I think it's a good trade. And to be able to make laydowns, I've certainly also folded hands in spots where I was just pushing it too hard and it's not good to fold. And I was over folding and adjusting way too much. But I think it's a good trade in tournament poker in general.
Don't forget, guys, May 5th, I'm going to be hosting an online bootcamp. It's going to be live. You can come and ask your questions 7 days, every single day, a different topic. Mind your way, final table exploits, money bubble exploits, early game adjustments for pre-flop. And also going to be reviewing my $150 GG Master score for $140,000, where I beat 7,200 players. Exactly the perfect tournament that's going to be happening now throughout the entire summer. Big field, lots of runners, big guarantee. So we're going to be going through a lot of the spots of the way I approach certain situations and giving you a lot of advice how to crush those players. It's going to be recorded in case you miss it. you get the recording. Also, if you join the annual champions tier, you're gonna save $499, $500 basically. If you don't want to join the champions tier, you can still purchase the weekly pass to get a full access or a daily pass for $99. You can choose whatever day to join. And again, if you don't make it, you get the recording. So everyone part of the champions tier during that period gets free access, or if you join before, then you also get free access and you save $500. That's our spring promotion. It's going to be a $500 gift for you for that bootcamp. I could have easily charged for it and made it a paid event for everyone. No, that's the value you get joining the champions tier. So this time, only this time, we're going to give you a $500 gift, which we have never done before. And as you've seen in this video, most of my sales pitches are having a lot more value than most of the paid stuff out there. So if that's already packed with value, imagine what you're going to get in the bootcamp, what you're getting in the champions tier. I don't know what else to do, guys, to improve you every single week. I want to help you to learn realistic poker. This is what I enjoy. I already made a lot of money, but I still want to provide good content, good value. And yes, it's costing a lot of money because I know that this shit works. Or keep trying on your own. Again, I don't know what else to do. Get your ass up, come to that bootcamp, or at least take my free course. It's free. There's no excuse to not get better at poker. So again, you find all the links below. Let's get this shit going. Let's have some insane scores in Deep Run this summer. I'm incredibly excited to crush some noobs, to bring them to Value Town and show them who is gonna be executing those razor sharp value bets. I see you guys in the bootcamp, and then stay strong, champs.
Fives is definitely possible to rejam. He's one of the bigger stacks, especially unblocking the king nines, king eights. I think this is better to rejam them than sevens or eights. At the end of the day, he's going to be calling what, like pocket sevens, eights plus. So yeah, I think fives isn't that terrible. I think it should have a similar EV as pocket sevens or eights. Obviously having eights, you block pocket eights, but also you're going to be blocking ace eight suited, king eight suited, some 9-8 suited. So yeah, it's not too bad to have this in the range. Now queen jack off. This guy is going to be opening really tight, so I like this fold with tens. Something I don't like, Dooku leads here. I think it's a very bad lead. You're not going to have 10-6 off, 6-4 off. It's a better lead if the board is like 10-6-5 or 10-7-6, where you're going to have the 6-5 combos, 6-5 offsuited as well. That would be a lot better. But yeah, you're not going to defend 6-4 off here. So he covers the cutoff, so you definitely want to be defending a hand like 6-5 off. But other than that, you're pretty disconnected from this board. But what I really don't like, and I think it's even worse, is this raise. It's way too big. If you want to do it, then raise to 125. Makes no sense to me, especially with a heart against a player like Dooku. Sometimes I'm wondering if those players are not preparing and looking into some GG million replays. This is, in my opinion, a big mistake. I think the EV of flooding, and he lets something like Jack 8 clubs or King 5 off with the king and hearts, and like him hitting a king or something like this, and you block all those continues from a 10. So I also don't think Dooku is gonna lead a lot of flush draws, because you don't want to get it in with a naked flush draw. So not a big fan. Ace 9 off. I think Pedro's probably gonna be 3-betting this the way I think he's playing. I'm not a big fan of this 3-bet. I think it's way too wide. Again, you can 3-bet ace 2s off. It's a lot better. You can 3-bet ace 3 off. Yes, you block 9s, but you block ace 9 off. You block queen 9 suited, jack 9 suited, 10-9 suited. You block way more raise folds than you actually block value. Or king 5 suited is also really good 3-bet there. Yeah, I folded ace 8 suited exactly for that reason, right? If I want to 3-bet something here, it's probably like ace 3, ace 2 suited. He's going to raise fold pocket 8s. He's going to raise fold ace 8 suited. So these are the main combos. I really don't want to have a 9, 8, or 7 in my hand. Therefore, to me, it's just an easy fold. Even though I'm the chip leader, we still want to be considerate about our blockers. And I think especially when you play these earlier positions, blockers are a lot more important because ranges are tighter. Now, Dooku with an interesting 3-bet. I also don't like that 3-bet. I like this 3-bet here when it's from middle position or like hijack. So you want to knock out equity behind, and Mr. Golden Seagull with the 4-bet. And I think this is obviously very standard. For my taste, a little bit too big. I think we want to go more like 5-10-ish. because there is a word where he clicks it back to like 700 something thousand. I think now this does not give any room for 5-bet bluff anymore. And now it's basically push or fold. And I think Duku makes a really good decision. I would not hate him seeing shoving here. It's super easy to overbluff these spots and there's so much dead money in the middle. Now, again, I would just flat pre, take them to the streets, yeah, on the button, and yeah. All right, ace king suited. I like the min raise. You still want to be min raising fairly wide of the stack size, and we see it here. Players these days are capable of these small 3-bets. I mean, it's almost like a min 3-bet, right? It's a little over min 3-bet, but this already applies enough pressure, and he can certainly have bluffs. He can have an ace 5 off, an ace 3 off, or these kind of hands, and you're not committed if he now jams it in. But obviously with 10s, we commit ourselves because there's a chance that he is 4-bet jamming something like ace 5 suited. He wins with the ace king, and we move on. King 10 off here. Very easy open. We fold. Deuce 3 off. I limp. I want to play pretty much every single hand. I would definitely fold against some opponents, but yeah. And since we whiff the board entirely and our range is really wide, you don't want to be betting everything. Especially this is a pretty good board for big blind. He can have a lot of strong hands. He's going to be checking back queen jack. He's going to be checking queen 5, jack 5, pocket 5s. Again, no reason for us to bet. And here's a very easy rule of thumb. A lot of players don't understand how to play those delayed notes. So typically, if you have complete trash out of position, you just give it up. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but here this is a very good orientation. Now, we don't have anything, so we just give up. If you have something like 9-8 or like king 6 at diamond, you want to start betting and continue bluffing on some turns, all right, that's fine. You can hit a king, you can hit diamonds, you have immediate equity, it's a lot better. Now here, 3 deuce, we just give up, and even on the turn, even though it's a good card for range. However, doesn't mean we never going to be bluffing the river, because we still have a lot of ace highs. We still have some like king 10s in our range, king 5, some traps that we want to check raise with, but ultimately 3D. Now we can start betting something like 9-4 of hearts if we decided to give up the flop. Even 9-4 of hearts is not necessarily a good flop bet. It's probably fine to bet sometimes, but we're still going to have a lot of delayed bluffs, something like 8-4 in diamonds, 9-3 in hearts, etc. Now, what happens when we get such a run out is that now you take your complete flop give ups, something like 8-3 suited, 7 deuce suited, 3 deuce off, right? Because we have so many ace highs, we have the full range of ace highs. So I decided to bet. I mean, he honestly just has an easy call. He decided to fold. I don't know why. And my emoji game comes here in play as well. Yeah, I always do it, whether I have it or not. I just find it funny. I think it's a great feature. Entertainment on poker table is always good. So now we have the very first very interesting hand. And I did something you probably don't expect me to do. Now, I decided here to flat. I'm going to be showing you if this is even GTO approved and why I deviated and why I think it's a really good strategy. So as you can see, I decided to flat, which some of you might surprise. And we can see here, and we import these spots in paired as well. So if you have access to the champions tier. So we have another gun raise and a hijack call, right? Yeah, another gun raises. No, sorry, another gun 1. Yeah, where's another gun button? Squeezing versus another gun 1 and hijack. So as you can see here, we are playing a very flat heavy strategy. Obviously, you see that even queens wants to call. And I find queens and ace king very similar in terms of its hand strength in this spot. Because if you want to flat queens, it's identical to ace king. It's very vulnerable. It's not going to be so good post flop on different occasions anymore. But the reason why I flatted here is, even though we face very aggressive opponents, I felt that I have a pretty good understanding how the players play. I could say I have an edge, but the point is, and I'm using this now on purpose, I would always say I have an edge, but just because I have reads on my opponent, I personally felt I have a good understanding how they play. And obviously I think I have an edge, but I might still be wrong because I gathered a lot of reads, I prepare, I go through hours of footage of the recent weeks and months of GG Millions and the guys that have been playing it, and I try to find certain leaks and counter adjustments I can make in their game. And then I have a worksheet and I write down notes and then I prepare with ICM paired and then I go into the final table. I did not want to jeopardize this in a huge coin flip. All right, I get it. Some people would say, oh no, you always have to squeeze ace king off. I don't think in no limit hold in poker, you have to do anything. You have to have reasons. And obviously here the EV of squeezing is gonna be very close to just overcalling it. And especially here, clashing with 3 big stacks or 2 big stacks might really, and I'm in a really good position. My EV of like right now is really, really good. If I have 2 million and doubling up might put me as the overwhelming chip leader, it might be different, right? Because now these 2 guys cover me anyway. I'm a bit handcuffed. But again, I'm in a position where I'm close to Pedro. We can both play very loose ranges with open raising and flatting, which is really, really good. I cover Casimir, I cover Golden, I cover the big stacks to my right, which is really, really good for my EV. So that's why I just decided to flat. And we see that hands like ace queen suited are being flat, pocket queen. So you see there's some ICM implications for hands that you guys think, oh, it's always a squeeze. No, you see like even queens wants to call, jacks wants to call. And I had an intuition that we're actually flatting. We're supposed to be flatting a lot of hands that a lot of players would think are no-brainer calls. And I also encourage you to think outside the box whenever you are on this final table, that don't fall in love with your hand. Think about the situation you're in and how certain outcomes can impact your future game. Ace king off with the king and spade. I don't hate betting, but again, we're gonna have lots of give ups from like ace 5 and hearts, and I want to cooler those. Yeah. So that's why I think our strongest ace king, we just check it back. It's so easy to play. We give up on a 6, 9, 10. Pretty easy. I think it just makes life easier. If we have something like ace 5 and clubs that we flatted, or ace 10 and clubs, I would always bet. Again, I want to fold out some like ace jack and ace queen off bet. We dominate all these ace jacks and ace queens, and we can cooler some of these in the check node. So now Casimir bets his jacks, and I think we just have an easy fold. So obviously, I mean, the thing is, I don't know what he would have done with jacks. I think against me, let's see, I would be squeezing to what, 300k? He might just zip it. And then what are we going to do? We have to call. I mean, that's just too profitable. I understand some of you guys say, yeah, you could squeeze fold, but you could. But that's the point. I don't really think people call ace queen off here as squeeze. That's why I would bluff this spot a lot. I think it's a good bluffing spot. You fold out ace jacks and ace 10 offs. You get calls from ace queen suited. Even ace jack suited is probably supposed to fold. Maybe we can have a look how we're supposed to react. This is something, again, if you guys have access, just have a look. Hijack facing a squeeze versus we have a UTG1 raise and a button re-raise, right? So this is the situation against the button. So when you're the flat caller here, you see that ace jack suited is basically very close. It's either 4-bet or fold. And even jacks and 10s is basically, I mean, it's a jam then basically, right? Jacks is like, so again, this is, sometimes you call, sometimes you fold, sometimes you jam. It means, think about this spot. It can be good against some opponents, can be very bad against other opponents, right? There's already 13 big blinds in the middle. Very, very close spot here. Let's see for under the gun. We can also have a look for under the gun 1, facing a squeeze versus hijack call and button raise. Here we go. And we see here also some 4-bet bluffing with suited aces, jams in the ace kings, even just sometimes calls ace king and kings here. That's crazy, right? I mean, folding queens, you just see how little you accomplish with ace king off. And the reason for squeezing ace king off is that we get some of these 4-bets, right? And if I don't get those 4-bets, I don't see the point in squeezing ace king off. And I did not have the, obviously Pedro's very aggressive in other spots. I did not have the note, otherwise that he's like necessarily in this particular spot with 3 big stacks involved, that he's gonna start 4-betting ace 9 suited here. So definitely capable. Again, yeah, for sure he's gonna do it, but not to a frequency where I think it's worth squeezing ace king here. I think this, a king queen, in my opinion, is a mandatory 3-bet. It's one of the best hands you can have. You unblock a lot of the ace x raise folds, you block kings, you block queens, you block ace king, in my opinion. All right, guys, but how should we approach this flop from all 3 players? If you want to improve your multi-way game, we have implemented a new post-flop multi-way drilling feature that you can practice different boards, different positions, high card, low card, middle card, paired board. You see here lots of different posts in there. So you just hit the train ranges and then you can quiz different multi-way situations here, review the strategy, what you're supposed to do. You can also navigate through the notes here on the left side to also see, all right, what is my opponent supposed to do on the button? You want to go to the button, what's the strategy here? If you're interested in one of the other positions, you can go to the cutoff as well and go through basically the entire situation here, and also with different sizings. So sometimes a small bet, now it's a big bet. What are we going to do here? Button folds. I would just fold, as we can see here. We're even folding Jack 9 off, which is crazy, right? You see crazy amount of overfolding. We basically fold any queen against the big bet in a multi-way pot. So a lot to learn in these spots, and 80% of your money comes from proper flop strategies, because once you call the flop, you play turn and rivers, your ranges are going to be tight. So the most mistakes happen on the flop, and now you can practice it in such a fast time to get really good in these multi-way situations. And now we also started implementing ICM multi-way post-flop situations. And as I mentioned, we have imported this spot as well. You simply hit the trainer, and then we can have a look what each of these threes are supposed to do. Check, yeah, makes sense. Obviously we just fold, but it would be interesting to see what we do against this very small step here. And you see we're basically never raising, and this is simply because of ICM, right? In ICM now there's so much little raising happening. It's basically just 10-8 and some, I guess, ace-8 in spades. Makes sense. We fold out pocket 9s and pocket 10s in these kind of hands. We have good equity of called, and let's have a look. Even something like ace king off is folding, but I guess it's the ones with the spades are always calling. Yeah, that's correct. But we can also have a look into what is button here supposed to do. So let's move up. We navigate to the node for the button, and then we have a look into button strategy. And yeah, he's basically betting mostly small. And we can also go to hijack. So we see hijack here. What's his strategy? You see he's also supposed to do very little betting because there are 2 players left. You only really have 8s and 7s that want to put money into the pot. So that's why you're checking a lot. And we can play this through here in different scenarios. I mean, okay, this is interesting. I would still, now we call. Let's have a look actually, because I'm curious to see if button is even supposed to have a raising range here. Yeah, button is actually supposed to have few raises, but again, this is where you just get a baseline, you get an understanding. You still need to understand, adjust whether certain opponents are playing exactly like this, but at least it will eradicate a lot of the blunders from your game and gives you a lot of confidence for these multi-way pots as well. And now we can just keep drilling it for different situations. We can also put ourselves in the button or hijack and practice here. Big bet, I think it's rarely happening anyway, but obviously we fold the ace-6. King queen off here, same. I would always 3-bet here. Also very tight fold in my opinion, especially on a loose table. This hand is just, I think it's always going to be profitable to 3-bet here. Hence, really good check back. I like it with top set. And then we bet the turn. I think you want to have some check backs. If you have like ace queen off, queen in diamonds, or ace king off, ace in diamonds, Pedro is going to have some check raises. He's going to have 10-5, 5-3 suited. These low pocket pairs, good flush draws. So yeah, I really like the there. Aces against ace-4 suited. Dodged the bullet here against Casimir. Definitely, I think I had a similar spot against Adrian Mateos a couple of weeks ago on the 10K million final table as well. And from reviewing it, I learned already, yeah, from time to time we have to 5-bet jam these suited aces, but then I don't think Casimir is going to be too out of line with 4-betting here, so I decided just to fold. If you want to understand how to play this spot, just click this YouTube video here, and then I had at the very beginning, I was also breaking it down, showing you the preflop ranges, how Casimir should play this spot. In this choose it was Adrian Mateos, and how I should react against it. I think everything very standard here. 6-5 suited, good open. This is a very interesting spot where, okay, so Pedro's going to be opening really wide, right? He's the chip leader, or one of the chip, I mean, he's the chip leader of now here, the second half of the table. In theory, I don't think he can fold 6-5 suited. Imagine like he opens king 5 off, he opens queen 7 off, queen 8 off suited aces, 10-7 suited, queen 3 suited. And usually these are one of the spots where you just zip it in. Because this hand is really good in terms of the calling range, right? Aces, kings, queens. You want to have a nut cracking hand. And you don't want to do this from under the gun middle position because your range becomes tighter. So now, obviously, he wants to push his suited aces, some suited king X hands, but it's still not going to be enough. Technically, the big blind could be 3-betting so wide, or should be 3-betting very wide, because the button opens really wide. So he's going to have queen 4 offs and king 3 offs and off-suited aces is bluff 3-bets. That Pedro wants to take a hand that has good equity of call. Right? Because if you just approach it from a blocker standpoint, you just take some ace-x and suited king-x, you're still going to be raise folding too much. Okay, I want to show you a very similar situation to this. So basically the button has a big stack, right? We have some shorter stacks, and now the big blind with around 20 big blinds attacks this button open. And as you can see, even with a much shorter stack here than the button has, in this our example, because here the button has around 70 big blinds, and here the big button has only 37 big blinds, and the big blind has 18 big blinds. You see that if the button technically faces a 3-bet, he very often either calls or jams with those suited connectors. Obviously, in this scenario here, he should have some open jams, right? So that's why he just open jams 6-5 suited. But you see the same principle, that he actually jams almost all of the ace-x and suited aces. But you see, and this is similar here, he's gonna have way too much king 6 off and jack 8 off and 10-5 suited kind of hands, that now if he starts folding those suited connectors, the big blind basically can 3-bet any 2 cards, right? Like he would be, if I would note look this and say, all right, now the button overfolds with the suited connectors and maybe also folds some of the bottom combos for suited king X, he can just go absolute full bananas with like king 5 off, ace 2 off, because you see here in these scenarios that it's for the bigger stack always a very good reward to just zip it in, because the risk is a lot smaller. Right? If it's 40 big blinds, obviously it's different, but with 20 big blinds, if it goes wrong, all right, it's 20 big blinds, yeah? So that's why you see this very often, that the chip leader is then supposed to just be uber aggressive and jam. That's why I think this is a mistake, especially against someone like Vlad. You will see he is capable. He's probably even 3-betting more. So I think here this is a mistake to fold this, even though he was right in this situation, but long term, I think Vlad would be exploiting him with his strategy. Interesting fold here with the ace check off. I'm not sure. I think it's borderline. I think it's a decent hand to 3-bet fold small. We block jacks, we block a lot of good ace-x. Also, this hand very standard. Check back from him. I really like. We don't want to face a raise here. We can always call. He's still gonna have bluffs like queen jack, king jack that we had. Maybe something like 8-5, 8-4 suited. And then river, yeah, easy call. Interesting that nobody chooses to 3. I think king jack off is a decent spot here to 3-bet. Especially those hands, king queen off, king jack off, become really good in these scenarios, because his main bluffs going to be from a6, ace 5 suited, ace 7 suited. There's not a single card that will contain more bluffs than having an ace. 6-5 suited here, very good check back. I don't understand this pot bet. I think it's really bad. You have every single bluff always going to have equity, makes it even easier. And if he has value, he's drawing dead, right? So I think you want to go like 100k, 7. You can also, like if you have 10-7, if you have 7-4 suited, if you have king 7, you can just bet 60-70k and protect against ace queen, right? It just had such a higher EV. And I don't think now he's going to be stationing with queens or something. So very weird strategy in my opinion. All right, Pedro with a 3-bet. And this is a spot usually I would fold king jack suited. I think we start jamming some of the king queen suited here. And you see these fuckers here are not fucking around. Like lots of 3-betting, lots of 4-bet jamming. I think some of the players obviously also have prepared and understand that we cannot just wait until we have a good hand. Otherwise, you just raise forward, you face the 3-bets, and you just have to risk it here sometimes. So in theory, I don't think it's a good 4-bet jam, but in practice it might be. And now, once you understand, we have looked into the multi-way preflop situation earlier. What do we do with 10s here? We just call, right? I mean, we called queens earlier. It's a very similar situation, even a position earlier. So yeah, pretty no-brainer call. Even jacks, pretty no-brainer call, right? I really like my bet here. Just getting ace king to fold, getting like these overcards to fold is really good. And our hand has a lot of potential to remain very aggressive. I mean, if let's say this guy's an ace jack suited, the turn is a queen, a king. If the turn is an 8 or a queen, we're never really gonna have any good bluff, right? So I think to prepare potential bluff here is really good. We're gonna be betting jacks, we're gonna be betting nines, we're gonna be betting ace jack. And I don't really want to face a check raise. So I would even, if I happen to have queen 10 suited, which I probably would fold, but we have king queen suited, I would start betting some of these pocket tens combos here. I think both options are fine. I just find it a very attractive option to start betting there with pocket tens. Pocket eight, yeah, I think queen jack suited, we just, oh, he plays it as a rejam. I don't think he's going to be super loose here in this spot. Just because I was quite aggressive. This guy on the button, then you have aggressive blinds. It's probably like a break-even rejam. Ace king. Pedro again takes the spot here. Doesn't work out this time. And you see most of the time they're just bluffing with their 3-bets. This I like. This I like a lot. The click back, and you can do it with like, if he's ace 9 off or ace 3 suited or king queen off, not on 4-bet. You induce some jams from like ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited at the side to zip it in. I think it's a very good strategy against aggressive opponents, because you make their life a lot easier if you just zip it in. Ace 7 off, we can 3-bet fold, or we can just call. We still want to bet everything here, so that's good. And then turn we check. The interesting part though is that I think Vlad would rejam every suited ace, so I think we can rule out like every spade combo, so like ace 9 in spades, ace 2 spade. I think Vlad just the kind of player that rejams it. I think most players just rejam a suited ace there pre-flop. So knowing that Vlad doesn't have any nut flushes, and I think if he has like, maybe he has 10-9 in spades, but like he probably will also re-raise something like jack 9 in spades with a gutter. So he's not gonna have a lot of flushes. Maybe Schusterich can go potentially for a triple barrel here to get him off an ace, but I mean, this is just me thinking a bit about the spot again. So this is very interesting. He decides to call. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm really not a big fan of it. There's already half a main in the middle. Like, this is such a boost for his stack. And you know that basically all 3 of them can be out of line here. This is a very weird, and especially in a spot where Vlad can have king jack off, king queen off, queen jack off, even something like ace 5 suited. The 30 to 35%, like, it's not a spot where you have aces and your opponent's bluff's gonna have 15 or 20%. This is a spot where his bluff's gonna have 30 to 40% equity. And then you even get bluffed off. No, he's not gonna get bluffed off. He's actually betting it. But I think it just, yeah, I would just jam pre. Queen 3 suited, I think, yeah, we just defend. Nothing we do here. He starts betting the turn, and we just fold. Ace queen, I think this board we just check back. And here I would start betting or checking. It's also fine. Again, and third, we can call a raise. We get some value from like turn king queen in clubs, king jack in clubs, king 10 in clubs, all these hands that call. And he can still be sticky with ace king or ace queen to call 1-bet. So I think on the turn, it's a good value bet. And then on the river, I would min bet and block. You can basically do it with every king high. I think by this point, once he checks back, he's always going to be an ace king, ace queen. Maybe ace 4, maybe ace 6, maybe ace 3 even. So I would definitely, yeah. I think it's a bit too big. I think that makes it easier. I feel like he's not really playing his opponent's range as well. He's, in my opinion, a bit too big with his value. People might be doing good folds against it. Queen 10 off. Yeah, easy 3-bet here. No action. Ace 8 off again. King queen off. I said it earlier. Powerhouse when it comes to bluff 3-betting. It goes through twice. I mean, with kings, we were hoping for action. King jack off. All right, that was quite an interesting hand. Defense. If we cover this guy, we can apply the pressure. So I would bet this board almost 100% of the time. We can even go smaller, just 70k. And then turn, we bet again. Maybe sizing wise, I think it's a little bit too much. I think we can go 350. Because I believe now if he has a queen, he's always calling. But if he has something like 7s, 8s, 9s, I think if you go 320, I would save myself a big blind or two, which is important. I think an error in this line where you lose a big blind 2 can be quite detrimental to your win rate. And I think river, we just have to give up, right? We want him to have like a king high, like let's say if we have jack 9 and clubs, we want him to have king 10 of spades or king jack of spades or king 5 of spades. But now he can't have those hands. So in this spot, I really want him to have an ace high or king high flush draw. So I would be bluffing ace 2 hearts, ace 4 in diamonds, jack 9, jack 8, ace jack, potentially even. But ace jack, we can just check it back. So it's also not I'm value jamming like king queen anymore, right? Because we split against king queen. I'm probably value jamming ace queen and better. Or let's say betting. We can bet 700k with those kind of hands. I would have two sizings. I would bet my very strong hand, sets and 2 pairs. If I have queens, I would bet the smaller sizing. If I have aces, I would bet the smaller sizing because now we block ace queen. But if I have kings, I would bet bigger because we unblock ace queen and so on and so forth. Would you have folded king queen there? I don't know. So that was a very interesting hand here. So king jack off here, I think it's too small. I think if he goes 250 and we do pretty fine against his range with 6-5 suited and we're out of position, and it's very close, but I think he should be going 250 and not that small, because if let's say we have $1 million, the sizing is fine because now investing those chips cost us more. But we have a bigger stack, you don't want to go that small. And again, we are basically chip leading everyone behind but the small blind, so we're still going to be opening relatively wide. And I think this is a better call than, let's say, jack 10 suited, because even the bluffs like king jack off, ace jack off, ace 10 off, like they have all us dominated. But 6-5 suited, unless he has ace 6 or ace 5 suited, we should never be dominated. Obviously getting lucky here on the turn and yeah, facing another bet. I think jamming is pretty bad, because I think that even if he's on aces and the river is, let's say, the 10 of hearts, he's always going to be value jamming with like less than half pot left. So here we really want, if he has king queen off, king jack off, and he's running a bluff, and let's say the heart gets there, obviously we never fold. There's not a single river where we fold, because that's exactly what I put him on, right? He has this offsuited crap that is going to have a good blocker to bluffing the flush. Suited hands mostly calls, so there's no point in protection shoving. Like absolute no. If he has ace 10 of hearts, he's rejamming or flatting. If he has king queen of hearts, he's rejamming or flatting. So he's only having ace king and ace queen as a flush draw, but then he's also very often just checking back the turn, because there's still going to be hands, some hands I'm going to be shoving the turn with. So, and for him to realize the equity, that's why you want to check back some turn flush draws. The river, he tanks and checks back. I mean, it's unfortunate he has those 2 cards in his range, but I think if he has king and spades, jack and diamonds, he's sending it in. But I'm not going to complain after hitting trips on the turn. Got a bit lucky there. And here ace king, ace jack. They're just getting the money in. And he's down to 5th big blind. And we got the first elimination. 7s. Okay, that was quite interesting. I don't hate 3-betting here, it's fine. Calling is obviously standard. He goes for the c-bet. I think, you know, when you know your opponent, he's gonna have ace 2, ace 3, ace 5, ace 6, ace 7. He's gonna be betting like king 8 that might bluff you off the hand. You just raise to like 180 here. You invest 180 for 341. It's always printing. You have the backup of the gut shot. You might be c-bet folding something like ace 4. I mean, calling is also fine, but the problem of calling is that he's gonna know you have a lot of like jack 5 suited. You're gonna have 10-9, 9-8, king 9 a lot that you don't raise. So if he's on like ace 2s, ace 5, a random ace 7, he might just go for the second barrel. So that's why you also want to be raising a decent amount of the time. And you can raise your king queen, you can raise your jack 4, pocket 4s, queen jacks, ace queen if you didn't rejam pre. It goes check check. And obviously here with our weakest king 9, we just want to bet. He decided to bluff catch, which I think is really good. You can fold pocket 8s, 9s, 10s because you block all our bluffs. And I think here calling something like ace 4 or pocket, let's say pocket 6s, pocket 7s is probably fine. It doesn't matter if you have pocket 10s or pocket 7s here because we're basically betting a queen and better. So, I mean, I would also value back ace jack, to be honest. Ace jack and king jack, I would value bet as well. So yeah, if he folds 10s and 9s and starts calling 8s and 7s, then he's gonna have ace 8, ace 9, ace 10, right? So we have a very profitable bluff bet here, and I think he makes a very good call. That's very interesting. I did not expect him to defend this. I don't think this is a good defend. But interesting check back here. Yeah, I think to the river, everything standard. He has some options to bluff turn his hand into a bluff, and Casimir even decides to bluff with the best hand, if I remember. Yeah, that's weird. I think where he's gonna have all the 7x in spades, he's gonna have also all the 6x combos, like, I mean, 6, 5, 10, 6 gets there. He's ace 7, king 7. Yeah, I think you still have enough showdown value. It's not terrible. I mean, there's some like queen x combos he might fold. I think both options are fine. Here against the chip lead, I would just rejam pocket 8s, to be honest. Yeah. Really good. King jack off. We decide to 3-bet, and we're also going to be looking into the spot. All right, so what would you guys think? Is this a good 3-bet? Let's have a look. And as I said earlier, very often I think those offsuited king jack, king queen combos are highly underrated. You see that here king jack off is a fine hand to 3-bet very rarely. The reason also why I like to 3-bet these spots is, let's have a look how hijack, the under the gun player is supposed to respond here. Sorry, versus the cutoff. Yeah, versus cutoff, not hijack. Is supposed to have those jams, and I think here people barely jam, right? So if they either call or fold, and you actually see from ace deuce to ace 9 suited, let's say 40 to 50% is supposed to respond aggressively. I also think we get the fold from ace jack. You even see like some of the offsuited aces are supposed to 4-bet. So I actually think people underestimate how much fold equity we have here. And you also see that I chose a bit of an exploitative sizing, because I don't mind if he, like, king jack does well against ace 6 suited in these kind of hands. I just don't want him to 4-bet a lot. I think people react very similar to like a 3x. Let's say if I go 300k or 250 with their 4-betting. Obviously, this gives me a better price. Will lead to him calling a little bit more, but I don't think it has a significant impact on his 4-betting range. So I still get the auto folds from him, like the king 10 offs and king 7 suited and ace 7 offs. And I still get to play against his calls and the queen jack suited and pocket 7s. And I do overall fine against it. So always think about what you're trying to accomplish with your sizing. You don't always need to follow GTO, right? If GTO tells you should be 3-betting to 300k, go to 250. And let's have a look here how we're supposed to play this spot post-flop, because he decided to call and we got the board 5-5 deuce. And now obviously the calling range is pretty strong. He's going to have all the over pairs, maybe even up to jacks and queens. He can still have some strong ace high, obviously. So I'm asking you guys, like, for us as the cutoff player, would you just c-bet everything? Would you have some checkbacks? And you can always pause. And let's have a look here how we're supposed to play this spot. So in case he flat called ace king off, which I think, yeah, he sometimes does. I mean, the thing with flatting with ace king is just you crush all of our, basically, unless we're coin flipping against queens and jacks, with ace king, you dominate the king jacks, you dominate the ace 5 suited. There's basically not a single hand that we are bluff 3-betting with that is coin flipping. We're not 3-betting jack 10 suited here. Or do we? No. So it's a spot where, let's see if we're 3-betting queen jack suited. No. So we're basically always crushed by the suited a6, suited king x, king queen, king jack off, ace queen to ace 10 off, right? I think also people never 3-bet these pocket pairs. So it's actually pretty smart to mix in some offsuited king x ace king calls. We're actually supposed to have some leads here, because you see he's gonna have all the over pairs as well. He's gonna have the nut flush draws, and now out of position player actually has a bit of an advantage where he's not gonna have king queen off, he's not gonna have ace 10 off, he's not gonna have ace jack off. Oh, sorry, we call ace king, that was a misclick. Let's have a look how cutoff is supposed to play the spot. We go one up to the betting strategy, and as you can see, cutoff is supposed to yeah, play a lot of checks as well. It makes a lot of sense, right? It's not a good board. King jack off here, my combo, king queen clubs, jack of hearts. It's mostly check, but you see the EVs are whatever. I can also bet big. I'm basically I'm not losing any EV. It's fine. I think a lot of you guys might understand intuitively that this is not the best board for us here. That's why you see a lot of checks. I decided to bet king jack, and luckily he had a fold. This is also where you need a bit of luck that you play against the bottom combos. This is a bit of a loose defend. I really don't like this one, even though he covers him. I think defending 3-4 suited is so much better. I think we just fold this. I see this a lot. People are having a lot of leaks in their defending ranges. King queen off here. Yeah, easy fold for Vlad. But that's what I meant. Like these guys, and it confirms what I was preparing for. That was an interesting hand here from Golden Seagull against Casimir. He goes for the bet, which I think I would very often check here with aces. It's just a terrible board, man. And probably on some final tables you can just bet fold. Like, I'm not kidding. I think you can just bet fold. You're just so often drawing dead. And to have like even the bluffs like Queen Jack have a lot of equity. Even if the 6 gets there, they're gonna bluff you off the pot. That's why I would very often just check it back. Now it goes check check. The 8 gets there, and yeah, he bets this sizing. And I actually really like the fold. I mean, the only really bluff I can see is king fucking 8. And he also has king 8. But I remember, like, I don't see any other bluff. So I think it's just super unlucky for him. I would have folded there as well. Like, what hand are you beating? Like, he could even, if he was bluffing with 7-8, block bet against king queen, against kings and aces. So I really, really like the fold there. It's, I think, 20 value combos versus 1 bluff combo. I think even if you get an incredible prize of like 20% pot odds, you're probably gonna get real pot odds. In real life, you're gonna have 10%. I think against the betting range, you have 10% equity. Like, the king 8 is also well played. I would have continued betting the turn. I'm surprised he checks the turn, but very well played on the river. I think it's really, really good. And it does the job. Like, you just fucked. King 9 off. We'll defend here, obviously, against later positions. That's fine to defend. And we also cover him. We check forward. Yeah, pocket 90 against Dooku just goes in. Against some players, you could fold with 30 bigs when they're open there. Again, blocker-wise, it's not a good hand to reject because you block a lot of raise folds, but I think against Dooku, it's completely fine. All right, we're getting spicy, and someone gets spicier than me. I really like my 3-bet with the ace-2 off. If you think about, obviously, we want to be flatting some suited ace, we want to be 3-betting some of them, and since he's short, we can be inducing with ace-queen off, we can be inducing with pocket 9s, ace check suited, and get the money in. As you can see, people are very aggressive these days, and it's also kind of like ICM improved. Now, if we think about all of the potential offsuit aces we can 3-bet with, like ace 7 off, ace 8 off, ace 3 off, ace 2's off is essentially the best hand to do it with, because he is going to be raise folding ace 7 suited, ace 5 suited. He might not be opening every single suited ace. Also, if he's raising some off-suited aces, he's going to be raising ace 8, ace 9 off, maybe like a little bit of ace 7 off. So very, very, like from late position, even with sub 50 big blinds, you want to raise forward a bunch of off-suited aces. But like ace 2's off never interferes with the raise folds. So ace 2's off is a lot better than ace 6 off or ace 7 off or even ace 5 off, right? Because he might be raising a little bit of ace 5 off and all the ace 5 suited. So really like, because ace 5 off plays better against the flat call, right, than ace 6 off. So yeah, in general, I very much like the 3-bet here, and I have to give him credit. I think I might be a little bit too out of line in the spot, a little bit too aggressive. I don't hate this one, and I taught this in the exploitative section of ICMP over and over again, that if someone is 3-betting a little bit too much, you can start 4-betting everything. And I think in this spot, if I 3-bet 1% or 2% too much than what I'm supposed to, he might be able to 4-bet jam those hands very profitably. So well played. I mean, it takes a lot of gut to make such a play here. So really like it. Also queen 5 suited here. I think it's a good open. High card suited. We want to be opening those hands. It's a lot better than, let's say, 4-5 suited. Very easy. C-bet here, one and done. We can check back something like queen jack off or king 9 off with the king and hearts, these kind of hands. But on these mono boards where we just benefit from putting out, let's say, king 5 in spades or king 6 in diamonds, is really good. We see it again, Vlad being extremely aggressive here with the reshove. I think it's fine in theory. I think he just needs to be maybe a little bit cautious that Duku might be inducing really wide. I mean, he has seen he 3-bet 5 deuce off earlier. This is something I don't understand, because like if you 3-bet off like the, what was it, 5 deuce off earlier and people keep raising into you, I think there might be having a, this is one of the spots where when you look in the solver, king 3 off is probably going to be like indifferent between calling and reshoving, and or like king 5 off, whatever the kind of hands you're reshoving with. Again, I don't want to jerk off here to pre-flop ranges all the time. I just want to show you some spots because sometimes it's really good, but like most of the time we really want to use our brains. And I think the moment where people see you as super aggressive, you know, when Duku starts min-raising 6s instead of shoving it because he thinks Vlad is too aggressive, or an ace-9 suited instead of shoving, or king-queen, like these rejams, even though they're GTO proof, just become super punt. And I think that's what people will do. I think this is like a super natural adjustment, and he might also bluff raise a lot less. So I think well adjusted from Duku. I think I can see a world where in ICM you just open jam this, but he decided to induce, and yeah, you see what happens. Again, I'm not saying it's a terrible rejam. I think it's even solver approved. I've seen these sims quite often. Often you rejam those bottom king x hands, and this is where you will see the circle jerk wizards in the comments saying, "Oh, but I checked it in the solver and it's so good." Yeah, like you play against humans, and that's why you're probably circle jerking in the comments and you're not playing those stakes. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with people having questions and being a beginner, but sometimes, like if you have this attitude, this mindset, you're never going to make it. So you play against humans and you want to ask yourself, okay, why do we do certain things? Why we're not shoving king 3 off there? Why shouldn't we be doing it? Is it good? Is it bad? But if you align your gameplay based on you checking the solver, or you actually have to check a solver in order to come up with a game plan, I think there's a lot wrong in your game, and you're gonna see it in your results. And that's why try to approach it with some logic and common sense over always checking the solver. Now, ace 4 suited, I think also really good rejam here. Ace 10 off could open. I think Casimir can 3-bet ace 10 off, especially against someone like Duku. I think that's really good. Ace 5 off, we have an easy raise. 9 suited, nothing really happening here. Okay, this is really interesting. I think the 3-bet in itself, again, there's you'll see almost every hand people play so differently the way they're supposed to play it. And it's a very beautiful example where Pedro obviously should just fold the queen 10 suited pre-flop from the small blind against under the gun range. Casimir is maybe opening 10-9 suited, that's it. So you're under ICM pressure. Your hand is going to be dominated very, very often. And it's not like in Chippy V, you know, Casimir is opening 7-8, 7-6 suited. But with these stacks, you really want to have like a king 5 suited, so much better. And he can still open a lot of ace x and king x, and his range is going to be wide enough. But people still play so much like close to Chippy V, where I think it's a good 3-bet in Chippy V. But it's just, the hand in terms of blockers is so bad that you just want to fold it. He can 3-bet king 5 suited. He can 3-bet ace 10 off, and it's already enough combos. Like, I mean, 35 big blinds. Do you want to 3-bet call 10s and get it in, or ace queen? No. So even your value range maybe starts as jacks, probably more like queens plus than ace king. So if he has queen 10 suited in his bluff 3-betting range, and he probably also wants to have some ace x and probably some king x, holy moly, that's gonna be a wide 3-betting range. Now, but as you can see, it doesn't fucking matter. He gets 9s to fold. So he is right. And obviously he makes maybe He has studied this opponent. Maybe he knows that high stakes players give these small bet 3-bets a lot of credits. Then it doesn't fucking matter. So again, here is a huge difference between what we're supposed to do in theory and how it works out at the real tables. And I find these reviews incredibly valuable. Now, this is a $10,000 tournament. There's not a single recreational. All of these guys are probably amongst the top 100 online recs, maybe even top 50. And you see every single hand, people are just throwing GTO out of the window, play their potato ranges, and they're still making shitloads of money. And you sit there on your micro stakes and low stakes, and you want to apply your GTO solver knowledge. You're a fucking idiot. It's so crazy what's going on micro stakes and low stakes, where you should just use your brain, common knowledge. All right? So stop being too worried about being unbalanced and whatnot. Play your fucking hand. That's why you can't win. And you see it on high stakes, how everyone is going after each other, trying to play their hand, 4-bet ripping the Jack-9 suited, 3-betting the Queen-10 suited. And I think Casimir, I would also expect that this spot is underbluffed. I think it's a good fold as well. So it's just more or less a chasing of who's making the better adjustments. Also here, the overbet with A6. Quite an adventure, but again, he thinks it's the right play. Obviously, I think there's some plays that even with adjustments or exploits, I think they're not necessarily good, but you know, we all make mistakes. I also make a lot of mistakes. I fold the ace-4 suited here. This is again me adjusting to my image. I've been super aggressive. They've seen me 3-betting ace-2s off, so I already tried to be on the next level, to assume, all right, here and there, they might feel, all right, Ben is trying to steamroll this final table. So I'm taking it a bit more chill. King 7, yeah, mixing in the trap check there is totally fine. I mean, you absolutely nail the board. And now, yeah, it's very easy to just, yeah, the good old fake tank. What am I gonna do? Yeah, King Jack off here. I think it's a good spot again to 3-bet. We want to be, these are the spots where you want to be flatting a lot of suited aces and you mostly take your off-suited hands. And now in late position where ranges get wider and wider, you can also pick the ones that are, let's say, a little bit more unfavorable with the off-suited a6. Let's say a7. Obviously ace-2s off would be much better, but a7 off is also okay. Yeah, nothing we can do here, even though it's effectively a little bit over 10 big blinds, 11 big blinds. We can still 3-bet fold. Obviously, we're going to be crushed. We're not getting the right price, so yeah, easy fold there. Ace jack, yeah, easy open. Surprised Pedro just calls. I think I would expect him to call a lot, to 3-bet a lot, and then it gets very dicey. I think against him, I would just call a post flop, but maybe I have to reconsider my game plan. If he doesn't 3-bet a6 off there, maybe making some adjustments, who knows. Yeah, we also see Dooku again 3-betting, and you see, like, whenever there's an opportunity for them to, because look at this spot, it's a really good spot to 3-bet really wide, but the thing is, you cannot do it every time. But the thing is, from my own experience, especially the way I prepared this final table, I feel like these guys, whenever there's a good opportunity, they take it. And I can imagine that he's full range off-suited King X, full range off-suited A6, 3-betting this spot. But especially against other opponents, we see against me, they might be a little more careful, but we've seen some King Jack suited 4-bet jams, Jack-9 suited, Ace-4 suited multiple times. So people are really like not caring. We get some raises through here, nothing so spectacular. Queen-10 suited. It's close. I think in hindsight, I would prefer the fold with 8-6 off when I'm honest, but yeah. The difference is now, obviously, we cover him a little bit, so it's fine to defend these. I like this call a lot more over Queen 8 off or Queen 6 off, because it doesn't interfere too much with his opening range, so our making a straight, making 2 pairs is going to happen a lot more than, let's say, with King 6 and King 8 off. You're getting some raises through here, folding the ace 9 off. I think it's obviously would be a little bit too much. There's another mystery hand. Okay, that was super interesting. I mean, check is fine. Dooku, check back, turn, checks Pedro again, which I think at this point we have 2 streets of value, but he decides to play it slow. What I find weird is his thought process on the turn to not bet and not to raise. Because on the river, very often we cannot go for a check raise or check jam. So now he goes for the check raise, which after you check call the turn and you don't bet, I don't understand. Obviously, if you put your opponent on queen jacks and jack tens and king jacks and maybe jack nine suited if button is a little bit looser, then just go bet turn and bet river, because if now the jack doesn't get there, let's say it's a deuce, a 3, an 8, a 9, whatever, he's very likely just going to check back a very weak top pair, right? And you miss a street of value. So ignoring this jack on the river, making trips for both of them in case ace jack and button has king jack, you're only going to get one street of value. So he's pot controlling, right? Obviously he's pot controlling. It makes no sense to slow play ace jack. There are going to be too many action killers. King, queen, even a 9, even a 10 is bad. A 6 is bad, an 8 is bad, a 3 is bad. Like, everything is bad. Like, so the diamond is bad. So he's pot controlling because he knows maybe there's a chance that Duco was trapping with 7s, 4s, and 5s, right? So with this logic, if you pot control on the river, he's still gonna have those full houses. And especially if he bets pot, I don't think he's gonna do it with queen jack or jack 10, because this is the sizing you're doing when you're greedy. I understand, it's like, oh, Ben, he's trips, he's gonna with jack 10 against what? Pedro can still have queen jack, king jack, ace jack, and we have ICM in play. So I find this from Duco very well played. I find it, let's say, I don't say it's bad, I just don't understand it. I don't understand the logic behind. I don't find it consistent. You think you have the best hand because now he rips it in, right? He thinks he has the best hand, which, yeah, I would think so as well, but that would mean I would fast play my hand on the turn. It's like, he checks back the flop. Now we have to make a jack. Vamos, we go for thin value against, it's not even thin value, it's clear value. So this is very strange that now he rips it in when I don't think Duco is like nobody, no, I don't think any of the good regs would ever bet pot size with queen jack or jack 10. I don't think you get enough, like it's just way too much. It's a very, very bad river size. So it's gonna be the slow played set. And if he has 7s, he's calling also 5s and 4s. I know it's rare, but it's just happening too often. And especially in those spots where ranges and the combos get very narrow and you might think, oh, Ben, it's so easy for you. I've done these folds. I folded in a similar spot, bottom full house, where I put my opponent just on one few specific combos and I folded. So I'm doing it myself. And I want to show you guys that I think here there is a bit of inconsistency in the turn and the river strategy. Obviously, if the river is a deuce and Duco like this, he would not raise, right? He would still call. If you don't bet and you don't raise the turn, it means, because it's not a trap. It's not a trap. The board is way too dangerous for this. You have, you make on this board, in this action, you make the most EV with your turn bet or turn raise. So him slow playing it again is just, I'm pot controlling. I can still put my opponent, he can still have sets that he slow played. And then he can still have those full houses on the river. Right, and trying to get the money in there with queen jack against the weak trips in this spot. I don't think Duco is ever gonna bet so big there. So it's gonna be either bluffs or full houses or better hands, maybe king jack. So yeah, you get maybe the occasional crying call from king jack, all the calls from the full houses, and you can see those guys are creative enough to put those sets in their checkback range, because Duco knows that on this board he's gonna have a lot of broadways, so he needs some sets in his checkback range.